Thanks for your beautiful film. I watched it at Cannes. I really enjoyed it. Your previous film, Tabu, echoed the silent cinema of Murnau. Grand Tourneau evokes the ghost of Chris Marker, Sans Soleil. What draws you to these cinematic ancestors? Do you see your work as continuing their inquiries into memory, time, and colonial fantasy, or as a kind of playful betrayal?
Well, with Tabu, I assume more now. It's true. I had that on mind, and because even the structure of the film is dealing with the structure of the Murnau film of Tabu, the real one. Um, in the case of Chris Marker, yeah, people mention this. I can see the connections, but I never thought about this. And it's not even a filmmaker that I can say it's close from me, you know. But your question in a more general terms of what I would say is that as time goes by, we have more and more memory of cinema, which is good in a way and bad in another way. It's good because it, there were there is more and more every year amazing films, and the memory of these times of cinema um, are available. So cinema is getting richer, or the idea of cinema is getting wider and richer because you have all these periods and all these filmmakers and all of these films, and it's important to have this memory. It's bad on the other hand because we know as cinema is getting older, people, I think the relation between the viewer and the film is getting more and more difficult. Because when you know too much, you have seen many films, it's more difficult to have something that it was always very important in the history of cinema, which is a kind of innocence, of availability to believe in things. And now we are more old and maybe more cynical. So it's harder to believe. We have seen many films. It's harder to get back this sense of innocence. And so this is my answer.
Mhm. Grand Tour is set in 1917, but filled with documentary footage and shot between 2020 and 2022. How did you conceive of this anachronistic layering of time? Would you say that time in your film is treated more like a spatial dimension than a linear one?
I think that the cinema is one of the medium that has more potential to deal with time because of the editing, because of all the things you can do. There was a very important filmmaker for me, a French filmmaker called Alain, that was doing a lot of exploring this potential of how to work in time in cinema. And it was very fascinating for me. I feel very close to what he was doing, and I've always been, a huge fan of his work. Um, but in the case of this film, there are many reasons to work like this with this two times 19. It's 18. Sometimes they say 17 on the synopsis, but it's really 18. So 1918 and the present time. And the idea was to work with this with like in a flow. So you go from one place, from one era, from 1918,
Mhm.
and you continue to see the film in the same place, in the same region, where are the characters, but suddenly they disappear. So you only get what is there today. And but you have the voiceover, so you can always have the characters. They never disappear, but they disappear physically. which gives the opportunity of the viewer to do very two different things. One is you're seeing the characters, so you're just watching whatever they are doing. But when they disappear, you still have them because of the voiceover. So you are projecting in another images in another time the continuity of this story. And for me, this when I thought about this, it looked like a nice idea, and I decided to explore it because I could not know from the beginning if it would work or not. Even now, I'm not sure. Some people say it does work. Some people say it does not work for me, which is fine. Uh, but it this was the idea to have all these transitions between what you see and what you don't see, but you project in what you see.
Mhm. And also, you juxtapose a Studio Bond period scene with contemporary Asian cityscape. Was this contrast means to highlight the artificiality of colonial narrative? How do you avoid turning these locations into what reviewers sometimes call exoticized backdrop?
Well, I'm not trying to avoid this kind of imaginary of image.
Mhm.
So I was intending to work with this kind of thing. So this means I'm not from Myanmar. I'm not from Vietnam. I'm not Chinese. I'm a Portuguese. So I can only have like an outsider look. But
Okay.
I think there's, I still think that there is a bad outsider look, like there are bad tourists, but I
Mhm.
still hope there are good tourists too. So I'm hoping I cannot be nothing more than a tourist, but I hope to be a good tourist. A good tourist means someone from the outside that can arrive and see beauty and grace and discovery and want to share this with the viewer. I was aware that I was a little bit playing with fire because of this question of Orientalism and all of this. But I was expecting people would see something more evident. Is that you know I'm also I'm Portuguese and I'm also putting having British characters, which I don't have any relation at all. I never lived in UK speaking Portuguese, which is a kind of I could be accused of like a variation of a blackface by putting British characters uh, speaking Portuguese and not just having British actors playing British characters. But no one complained about this. So my relation with Europeans, it's even I would say more problematic in Europe than with the Asian countries.
Mhm. And there is a recurring motif of Molly's letters arriving at each station, ending in a stop. It feels like a kind of meta commentary or narrative or on control or limits of communication. How do these telegrams shapes the rhythm and irony of the film?
This came with the departure point of the film, which was this book by Somerset Maugham, uh,
Mhm.
A Gentleman in the Parlor, where in the book he tells about this couple, this couple of bride and groom that were so in the book there was the telegrams. He would run from country to country, and when he would arrive in every country, he would have the telegrams. So I didn't. In that case, I didn't invent nothing. I just used what was written in the book. Uh,
Mhm. One reading of the film suggests that you are punishing your characters for their fixed allegation to love, duty, or narrative closure. Do you see Grand Tour as a self-critical reflection on the limits of storytelling itself?
No, I don't. I'm not. I don't think I ever said I was punishing the characters. I don't. This is one of the things I don't like precisely in cinema is to see films where to pass a message that can be that I can relate, and I think it's a good point of view to do something which is bad, which is punishing characters. I think that's the most for me. This is like the taboo of cinema. The forbidden thing is to exert violence in on the viewer or on the characters. You cannot do this. For me, it's impossible to do this. So I don't think I ever said that I was punishing the characters. I mean, they are doing stupid things, of course, but I still have empathy for them now, and I will never punish them for.
Mm. Mm. Grand Tour, at the same time, avoids dramatizing wounds, personal or political, but traces them in a kind of landscape and glances. Do you think cinema is capable of healing historical trauma, or is its power is better suited to evocation than resolution?
I think cinema can do many things,
Mm,
but one of the things it cannot do is fix up the past.
mm,
I think it can help, but in a small way because it doesn't have the power that cinema used to have before to do something for the present. For the
mm,
past, it can do nothing. You cannot fix the past by canceling films or taking parts of films or you. Cinema is also the portrait of the time they were made, and hopefully and fortunately, there's many different films that say opposite things, and so I don't know what is the function of cinema. I think it's more difficult to define, but I know the function of cinema is not trying to fix up the world. It's impossible, or fix up the past.
mm. So this reminds me again, Merkel when he says that time heals everything except wounds. And so you agree somehow with Marker haunting reversal that cinema, even if when attempts cannot mend anything, cannot mend the emotional or psychological or cinematic wounds.
Well, I think that cinema today is struggling with the fact that it's more peripheral, it's less central, so it reaches less people. So I would say, in this context, yes. And the power of cinema, I mean, cinema in social terms, it's very difficult to measure.
Mm,
But in individual terms, it can do miracles. It can uh, uh, make people change their lives. A film can make a person to change their life, but I think this comes from the people. It's like teaching and learning. You can be a very good professor, but I think it's up to the student to to pick up what you're teaching and do something with it. Because if the student doesn't want to do nothing with what you're teaching, it's
mm,
it's use it doesn't lead to nothing. And so and I think that today in the world there are too many films that are trying with too much effort to convince the others of something. And sometimes they are trying to convince things that I would consider good things, but I think the relationship between a film and someone that is seeing the film should not be from this nature. This means a film should not preach, should not tell the viewer you have to think like this. It's up to the viewer to do something with the film.
Mm.
But the film should not be in a relation of power with the viewer
Mm.
that would say, this is what you should think.
Okay.
When the film does that, for me, it doesn't work. I feel
Okay.
a bad student.
Okay. Thanks.